Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Am I audible? Hello, 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 hello. Okay, thank you very much. So, am I absolutely crystal clear with respect to voice quality? It's a typical question. This question gives me the desired energy for the next 1 hour or so. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That's great. Welcome to this exciting first AAA live class for the September 2023. I am super motivated and super excited because I know I can assure 20 odd marks today within the next 1 or 1.5 hour. I've got this feeling that within the next 1 hour, I can lock 20 marks. So let's start the show. And I'm assuming that you guys are done with at least syllabus area B and C, which is about professional and ethical issues and quality management. Okay, give me one more minute. Okay, yes, 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 that's great. Let me be the host. Okay, I'm the host now. Partially in progress. Okay. Now, dear students, you got to understand this quality management, which is your syllabus area C. It's a hot cake right now. It was tested in December 2022. It was uh, again tested in March 2023. It was not tested to that extent in June 2023. And I believe that it is going to be tested all over again in September 2023. Now, why I'm so confident about quality management? Because quality management is a topic which the examiner could use as a deception. Now, what deception? Actually, there are two types of reviews. Number one review is called pre-issuance review, also known as hot review. And the second review is called post-issuance review, which is also known as cold review. Now, the examiner could set the question on either of the two, a pre-issuance review or a post-issuance review. Secondly, this topic, quality management, has recently been changed and upgraded. And as a result of that, it is going to be a hot cake for the next attempt as well. So my focus for the next 1 hour or so, or maybe more than that, it's one and only one, and it's called quality management. Now, before I move on to any past paper question, I would like to recall and I would like to address few things. A typical quality management question would ask you to comment on the quality management related issues. Now, what do I mean by quality management related issues? Dear students, always remember, if the audit firm or the engagement team was under severe time pressure, most likely they would have compromised on the corners, they would have cut the corners, they would have compromised on the procedures, they would have unnecessarily squeezed the procedures, they would have unnecessarily squeezed the sample size. So as a result of any time pressure situation, we are always going to raise a quality management related issue. Similarly, if there is any ethical issue which could create any possible negative implication on the auditor's behavior or auditor's judgment, such as self-interest threat or familiarity threat, all those ethical issues will create a situation where the auditor's professional judgment or the behavior might be compromised. And once the auditor's professional behavior or judgment is compromised, what do you expect? What do you think? What do you think? Is the auditor will be able to keep up the highest level of quality? Not really. So if there is any ethical issue, it will have a direct implication on the quality management of the audit. If there is a compromise on quality, either at the planning stage or at the performance of the audit, it could lead to the risk of issuing an incorrect audit opinion, which is called audit risk. So that is how beautifully those three topics are integrated with each other. Ethical issue would lead to quality compromise. Quality management related issue would lead to audit risk. Is this clear? Can I have confirmation on that? Okay, that's great. Thank you. Now, in order to assess the quality of the audit, either at the planning stage or at the performance stage or at the end of the audit. Now, listen to me very carefully. I want to teach you something. I've planned it. I've prepared it for you. You have to understand. A quality related issue could be at the planning stage of the audit. A quality related issue could be during the audit, which is called the performance stage of the audit. And you might realize a compromise on quality at the end of the audit, or you might realize a quality related issue after the audit. Now, there are two things which you need to search today. You need to search it on internet. What is the difference between pre-issuance review and post-issuance review? The first one, which is the pre-issuance review, it's called hot review. Why it is called hot review? Because the audit would be nearly complete and the audit report would be, the audit report needs to be signed in a few days or maybe in a week's time. So the audit report is still with the audit firm. The audit report is still within the reach and within the control of the auditor. The second review is called cold review, which is executed once we are done with the audit, once we have issued the audit report. So why are we going to review before the audit report is signed? Because we want to make sure if we have made any compromise on quality, maybe because of some ethical issue, maybe because of lack of training, maybe because of lack of supervision, we have still got time. The ball is in our court. We can still change. We can still make certain actions just to make sure we do not compromise on the auditor's opinion. We need to reduce the audit risk. Now the burning question is, why are you going to come up with a review once you have signed the audit report? Why after it? The client is done and dusted. The audit report has been issued. Why now? Once we have issued the audit report, including the audit opinion, we might review in order to evaluate the quality, because as a firm, we want to learn. We want to improve in the future. Yes, we cannot change the previous audit report and the audit opinion because it's gone. It's been publicly distributed. Maybe 6 months have gone by. Maybe 1 year has gone by. Maybe 3 weeks have gone by. It's done and dusted. But the objective of the cold issue, also known as the post-issuance issue, post-issuance review, the objective is to learn from the mistake and to improve the quality management aspects of the audit firm. So dear students, I need confirmation from all of you. Have you understood the difference between the cold review and the hot review, or more formally known as pre-issuance review and post-issuance review? According to Asif, yes. Okay, thank you very much, Smita, Hussain, everyone. Thank you very much, Rahil. Well done. Okay, my dearest Simarpreet Singh. Okay, there are two types of reviews in the context of quality management. What do I mean by quality management? I want to identify the mistakes during the planning or execution of the audit, and it's called quality management review. That's the step one. Now that quality management review falls under two different timelines. There are two different timelines, and the examiner is going to manipulate you with a timeline. As a student, you got to understand what is today's date, what was the client's year-end date, where do we stand today? Is it a hot review or a cold review? Hot review means The client is red hot. The audit report is still within the grasp of the audit firm. We have not issued the audit report as yet. It's called hot review. Now, the burning question is, why are you performing a hot review? Why are we performing a hot review? So that we could identify the mistake at the planning and performance stage of the audit, and so that we could bounce back right now, we could take the corrective actions right now, and we could, come up with certain actions in order to avoid the risk of issuing an incorrect audit opinion, because the audit opinion is still within us. It is still within our office. We haven't issued it. It's called hot review. But assuming you have already issued the audit report and audit opinion, and it's public, it's gone 2-3 months or a year has gone by. Now, again, you want to perform a review, but the question is why? Why now? Now you cannot change the audit opinion. So this review has got nothing to do with audit risk. Now the question is, why in that case you want to perform a quality management review? Because as a firm, as an audit firm, as a group, as an organization, you want to learn from your mistake so that you should not, or we should not repeat such mistakes in the future. We want to improve the infrastructure of the organization, the audit firm. So are you clear what is the difference between hot review and cold review? Everyone else, most welcome. Okay, thank you very much, Resham, Samia, thank you. Okay, now hold. There is something very important which I want to highlight today. So this is quality management syllabus area 3. The examiner could ask you the question of quality management, but the question could fall in the category of syllabus area E. Now, you have to understand that's really important. If it is a cold review, Simmerpreet, if it is a cold review after issuing the audit report and audit opinion, it means now you cannot change the audit report and audit opinion. It's gone and it's done and dusted. In that case, it's a question from the syllabus area quality management, syllabus area C. But if the audit report is yet to be issued and you are performing a review in order to identify the mistakes which we did during the audit in the context of quality, it means this is now not a question from syllabus area C, rather it's a question from syllabus area E, because it's a question on completion and review and reporting. Is this clear to everyone? The pre-issuance review is a question from syllabus area C. The post-issuance, more or less same question, would fall under the category of syllabus area E. How are we going to differentiate between the two? The decisive factor would be the timelines. What is today's date? What was client's date? As a AAA student, when it comes to such a question or any AAA question, the first thing which you need to understand, who are you? What is today's date? What was client's year end? And where are we standing right now? And what are we up to? Are we up to a cold review or a hot review? Why the hell I am emphasizing this so much? Because the wording within your answer would differ according to the hot or cold review. The actions which you are going to recommend in the context of hot review would mean we need to take actions immediately in order to avoid audit risk. But in the context of cold review, we need to come up with actions for the entire firm, not for the sake of audit risk. Am I clear now why it is so important? Hot review is from area C. Cold review is from syllabus area E. Absolutely gold. Fatma is unable to, connect with me. Are you all able to? Am I absolutely clear? Voice clarity? Fatma, could you please rejoin? Rahil has confirmed. Yeah, cold area is E and hot area is C. Absolutely. But Hussain, you got to realize it's not 100% the job is not 100% done once we have identified, okay, hot area is C, cold area is E. No, the wording within the answer would be a little different, a little different. And we must acknowledge that. We must grasp that. Okay. So we need to identify whether the question is from a hot review or a cold review, whether the auditing standards have been followed or not. Because if there is a breach of auditing standard, if there is a breach of auditing standard by the audit engagement team, whether the question is for hot review or whether the question is for cold review, the breach of auditing standard would mean there is a lack of sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So the conclusions drawn might not be correct, and it's a compromise on quality. And as a result of lack of sufficient appropriate audit evidence, audit risk would be high. Whether it's a cold review or a hot review, we need to identify whether the work was allocated to the appropriate level of staff or not. We need to identify whether the work was whether the work was allocated with good enough seniority. So, for example, if let's discuss the audit of goodwill. I don't think so that the audit of goodwill should be allocated to some trainee auditor. No, 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 no. I don't think so that the audit of financial instruments or goodwill should be allocated to someone who has just been recruited as an audit manager or just been promoted as an audit manager. No, I think this task should be assigned to someone who has got good enough experience to handle such critical areas. Whether the question is for a hot review or a cold review, if there is an indication of time pressure, time pressure, it is always considered as as an issue which is considered as a compromise on quality. Because once there is a time pressure, individuals tend to make compromises on testing. They tend to unnecessarily reduce the substantive procedures or the sample sizes. What if you wanted to verify the physical existence of the non-current asset, but your audit trainee or your audit manager inspected the purchase invoice? Well, the purchase invoice is good enough, maybe for the sake of identifying the amount or maybe the title deed with it, which should be against the name of the company. But in order to verify the physical existence, that invoice is not good enough. So maybe the evidence obtained is not appropriate under the given circumstances. What if your audit manager recommended during the audit, let's squeeze the sample size? Why? Because we have to save time, because we are running out of time. So if there is a deviation from the audit plan, unnecessary deviation, this will be considered as a compromise on quality. Because if we are going to deviate from the audit plan, this is against the ISA 300 audit planning. You are compromising on the auditing standard. What if the two trainees were involved and nobody as a senior was supervising them? What if the work performed by those, when they eventually submitted their work, nobody reviewed their work? In the world of auditing, everyone's work should be reviewed by his or her senior. So there could be all sorts of compromises on quality, whether the question is from the hot review or cold review. Am I clear? Okay, Hussein, you didn't understand what is the difference between hot review and cold review. Yeah. And I mean to say, you understood that there is a difference, but how it is going to be different when it comes to past paper question? Well, give me some time. I will demonstrate two different questions. No, if it is a pre-issuance review, it's a question on quality management. If it's a post-issuance review, it's a question on quality management, but it falls under the umbrella of completion review and reporting, because the objective of both the reviews is different. The objective is different. Hussein, I understood your point. You want to have more clarity. The clarity would come up when you are going to solve two questions tonight, and I am recommending you two questions. Everyone out there, you have to prepare two questions tonight. The first question is called Belfort, and it's a question from your specimen exam. And the second question is called Bradley, which is a question available in your exam kit. Those two questions seems to be so similar yet so different. Let's go to Welford and let's go to Bradley. I think it's time to move on. Okay, as per my memory, Welford is available in your portal. It's a question from specimen exam, so it is available in your portal. But I remember, as far as my memory is concerned, I don't think so. Bradley is available in your portal. But I will try to, somehow relate those two questions within this session. So hang on and let's concentrate. I never go on to the exam requirements first. So I'm going to read the orientation first. It is 1st July 20x5. So what is today's date? 1st July 20x5. Who are you? You are an audit manager. Where? The audit firm is called Welford and Company, a firm of chartered certified accountants. What's your role? You have to understand, Hussain, here comes the pain. You are an audit manager, Hussain. It is 1st July. Your role includes performing post-issuance audit quality reviews. So what is it? Is it going to be a hot review or a cold review? Post-issuance audit quality review. Well done, everyone. It's going to be a cold review. So will you be able to change the audit report and the audit opinion? No. Thank you. And you have been asked to review the audit work performed on a particular client, and the name of the client is Reverse Company, and the Reverse Company year end was ages ago on 31st January 20x5. So probably when we started the audit for Reverse Company, it was November or December of 20x4. And probably we finished the audit in March or maybe in April. See, in April, and today is 1st July. The following exhibit available below provide information relevant to the question. So there are two exhibits. The first exhibit is about the audit engagement team, the composition of the team, the senior, junior, the composition of the team, and the and within the first exhibit there is a story about the fee as well. So numbers, dollars. And the exhibit number 2 is about going concern. Okay. This information should be used to answer the question requirement within the response option provided. Let's read the exam requirement now. Evaluate the quality of the planning and performance of the audit of Reverse Company. So when we planned the audit, when we performed the audit, did we make any compromises on quality? If we did, we need to discuss the quality related issues, discussing the quality management. Ethical and other professional issues. So if there is any ethical or professional issue within the question, which will eventually have an impact on the quality, discuss that as well. Not only that, as a student, as an audit manager, you are reviewing everything. You got to recommend appropriate actions to be taken as well. Now, here comes the important point. When you are going to recommend any action, within the answer, do not address the audit report or audit opinion because the audit is done and dusted. Professional marks will be awarded for the demonstration of skills in analysis and evaluation. So if there are numbers, changes in data, you got to utilize that. You got to apply professional skepticism. So maybe you need to have doubts over the integrity of the management, over the competence of the audit team, and you need to have the overall business sense, which is the commercial acumen. Let's start reading the exhibit number 1, which is about team and fees. So what's the name of the client? Reverse Company. Is it a listed company? Oh, indeed, it is a listed company. Now remember, you can score 1 mark by highlighting the fact if it is a listed company, hot review is mandatory for such companies. According to the IESPA Ethics Board, a hot review before issuing an audit opinion is a mandatory requirement for the listed companies or the public interest entities or the high risk audit clients. We are not holding a hot review right now, but this information was shared to you by me for the sake of your knowledge. Hold this thought. Hot review before issuing an audit opinion is a mandatory requirement. Hold this thought somewhere. This might be useful. This is a listed company, and this company operates in the construction industry. The company complies with corporate governance regulations, and this company does have an audit committee. And this company has been the audit client of the audit firm called Welford Company for 8 years. And Bob has been the audit engagement partner during this time. So for the straight 8 years, Bob has been the audit engagement partner, which is definitely not in line with the ethical guidance provided by the board, because once the 7 years have gone by, the engagement partner must be rotated off, and the engagement partner has to serve a cooling off period for 5 years. Considering Bob has been there for 8 years, there is a huge possibility that Bob would have a self interest, and Bob might want to continue the relationship with the company in order to make sure we do not lose the client. This situation where the Bob has been the engagement partner for 8 years would lead to the familiarity threat. Bob would have become too sympathetic, too trustworthy of the client, and as a result of that, maybe Bob might not be able to raise the concern, or Bob might not have challenged the assumptions or the explanations provided by the management because of the familiarity threat. So you could score 1 mark by discussing the self-interest issue. You could score another 1 mark by having a discussion on the familiarity threat issue. Moreover, you can score another 1 mark by criticizing the audit firm's ethics department, why the firm didn't realize, why they didn't monitor the length of the engagement partner, why they allowed Bob for the 8 year, why they did not remove him, why they did not make sure that he needs to serve the cooling off period. So there are 3 different marks available out of this paragraph. Is there any action which you could recommend after discussing these 3 points? Yes, we can. We can discuss one thing, and that is we need to make sure that Bob should be immediately removed from this client, and we need to hire an independent new engagement partner. So we can score 4 different marks out of this story. Are we clear? Who's clear with the 4 marks? 4 marks. Familiarity, self-interest, why the hell audit firm didn't realize, why they didn't monitor, why the audit committee didn't realize. Number 4, get rid of him. Get rid of him. Now it's up to your writing skills how you are going to split those 4 different points. You should not come up with 4 different headings, not at all. Under one heading, these are going to be 4 different paragraphs, 4 small paragraphs. Move on to the next point. Okay, next paragraph. River Company's audit report was signed. So then, Simarpreet, yeah, was signed. It's a cold review by Bob and issued last week. So it issued, it's gone. The report contained an unmodified opinion. So it's a cold review. Audit firm requires its staff to record each hour they spend working on each client in the firm's time management system. From reviewing the time records relating to the audit of River Company, you are aware Bob and other audit team members recorded the following amount of the time: 2 hours by the engagement partner, 6 hours by the audit manager, 35 hours by the audit manager, but Anisa is not the senior audit manager. Pat is the senior audit manager, and 130 hours by the 6 audit assistants. Total 173 hours. After 7 years, the engagement partner must be rotated off, and then the partner then has to serve a cooling off period. When I say cooling off period, that individual cannot be involved in any role with that client for 5 years. 5 years cooling off period. Max years allowed as a partner, 7 years. Am I clear? Absolutely gold. Yes. The engagement partner within the cooling off period, the audit engagement partner has to have no involvement whatsoever. Nothing at all. Nothing is allowed. Okay, let's continue. Now I need to score more marks. First of all, under one big heading, I will start getting, marks. I will say, Bob, the audit engagement partner, has just invested 2 hours, which is clearly not good enough. Imagine the engagement partner who's responsible for the entire audit has just invested 2 hours. He should have reviewed the key assumptions, the judgmental areas. He should have reviewed the entire work of the senior audit manager. But this is clearly not the case because 2 hours are clearly not even close enough. So that's one mark. Second possible marks. The total time spent on the audit, 173 hours, is not good enough either. Mind you, out of those 173 hours, 2 plus 6 plus 35 hours are individual time, whereas those 130 hours belongs to 6 audit assistants. Even if I divide 173 with 10 or 15, that's not even 10 to 12 days. And mind you, out of those 130 hours, there were 6 assistants involved. So it's about a week. It is definitely not enough considering we have invested too little time on the audit of a listed company. Yes, I agree it was a client for the 8th straight year, but still considering it's a listed company, that time does not justify anything whatsoever. This overall, seems to be a clear indication that we have not invested good enough time. Definitely, we might, lack sufficient appropriate audit evidence. There is no clear-cut benchmark, but the common sense will prevail. Okay, let's continue. We are not done as yet. Yes, it's judgmental. It is apparent from your review that almost all of the detailed review of the audit working paper were performed by ANISA. Who is ANISA? The audit manager. Who has evidence her review by stating final review on each page of the audit file. She has recently been promoted to the audit manager. So all the review was performed by audit manager, not the senior audit manager, ANISA, and ANISA has just recently been promoted to the audit manager. So considering ANISA does not have prior experience, considering she has recently been promoted to the audit manager, the firm has definitely made a compromise on quality. The work allocated to the ANISA should have been segregated between senior audit manager and audit manager, or the senior audit manager should have been in line with the audit manager ANISA. You cannot heavily rely on ANISA considering she has recently been promoted to the audit manager. Moreover, once she performed the review, she just stated final review on each page of the audit file. She should have signed it. You are aware that Bob booked a total of 40 hours to Rivers company in respect of non-audit work performed. So here comes a new heading, non-audit work. Bob, the engagement partner, booked a total of 40 hours to the client. Okay, what kind of non-audit work? I'm wondering what kind of work. The only information you can find in the documentation is that non-audit work related to a special investigation. What kind of special investigation? Was it relevant to fraud? Was it relevant to controls? Was it relevant to any internal audit assignment? I don't know. And that Bob confirms that it does not create a threat to the auditor objectivity. It's not good enough. What if that creates self-interest threat because of the fee dependency? What if that work, that's one mark for you. What if that creates self-review threat because what if that work was subject to audit at the end of the audit? What if that work becomes subject to the audit? So that could create self-review threat. If it is going to create self-interest threat, maybe Bob would be reluctant in raising the concerns because Bob does not wish to, offend the client. What about the fee? The total fee charged for the audit was $250,000, and the fee for the special investigation was $890,000, more than the multiple of 3, almost multiple of 4. There is a risk. You have to be skeptic. What if Bob did not perform any special investigation whatsoever and it's a bribe? They are just trying to legitimate the bribe. What if that special investigation never happened? Why there is lack of documentation? Why there is no engagement letter? Why there is no details regarding the special investigation? So again, you could score 3 to 4 marks out of this T, out of this 40-hour issue, out of this, lack of documentation, which is clearly a compromise on quality, which maybe it's a clear-cut case of bribe. You have to be skeptic. Are we clear? So what actions are you going to recommend? We need to immediately investigate the nature of this special investigation. We need to verify, we need to inquire why there was a lack of documentation, why there is no proper documentation regarding this special investigation. We need to confirm what kind of assignment was that. Was it actually executed? We need to review the supporting documentation and the working papers in relation to that special investigation, so that we could confirm this was a legitimate transaction and a legitimate work. Because I'm just wondering, maybe they did not perform anything whatsoever, anything at all. Okay, the next exhibit, the last exhibit. From reviewing the audit working paper, you are aware that going concern was identified as a significant audit risk at the planning stage of the audit due to low profit margins or losses being made on many of the company's construction contracts and increasing economic uncertainty. Who are you? You are an audit manager. What are you doing? You are reviewing, you are performing a cold review. So when you reviewed the going concern section of the reverse company's audit file, you realize that going concern was considered as a significant audit risk at the planning stage. Why? Why going concern was considered as a significant risk at the planning stage? Because of the low profit margins and the losses which the company is realizing and facing on the construction contract. And there is an increasing economic uncertainty, which is adding insult to the injury. The company typically has 20 contracts ongoing at any point of time. Okay, now what happened? I am curious, how did they perform the audit of going concern, considering going concern was a significant audit risk? In general, going concern is a very sensitive area. Most of the audit work on going concern was performed by Mary, an audit assistant who has just taken her last professional exam and is not yet qualified. Oh no. Why are you going to assign a fresh part qualified girl whose name is Mary? Good name though. But why are you going to assign Mary to the audit of such a critical area, going concern? Considering going concern was considered as a significant audit risk at the planning stage, then why are you going to do that? It's a compromise on quality. Mary does not hold good enough experience or prior knowledge to execute such a critical area of the audit. Okay, let's see how Mary executed the audit. The majority of the audit work performed on going concern focused on a review of 5 major contracts to determine their profitability. Now, guys, in order to confirm the going concern, out of 20 contracts, they only selected 5. That's not good. They should have gone for more bigger sample size, because this is a significant audit risk area. So another possible mark. The management of River Company identified the major contracts for review and provided Mary with forecast indicating that the contracts would all make a small profit. Now, out of those 20 contracts, who selected the 5 contracts for the sake of going concern evaluation? Who selected? Fatma, Jacob? Who selected, Peter? Who selected the 5 contracts out of the 20 possible contracts? 5 major contracts were selected in order to assess whether the company is going concern or not. Yes, very well done, Hussain and Resham. Those 5 contracts were unfortunately selected by the management. Well, they are going to be biased. they are definitely going to select projects with which are having some kind of profitability. That's not good. The sample should have been selected by the auditor. It's the auditor's right. The auditor should have selected it. Okay, now what? Mary confirmed that the assumptions used in the forecast agreed to assumptions used in previous years. Again, it's a compromise. Whenever we are having a discussion on going concern, we have to be future oriented. We have to be forward looking. Going concern is something which has got nothing to do with the past. But what did Mary do? Mary confirmed the assumptions used in the forecast with the assumptions used in the previous years. Well, you cannot rely on the assumptions used in the previous years. The previous year is gone, done and dusted. We have to be forward looking. Those previous years' assumptions might not be true now. Mary, another mark, the methodology used by Mary is not appropriate. Mary should have applied the forward-looking approach. Those previous years' assumptions might not be true now. Mary also used the firm's data analytics tool to confirm the mathematical accuracy of the forecast. Oh no. Data analytical tools are used to evaluate the plausible relationship, the unusual, undigestible, unacceptable fluctuations. It is used to interrogate the data. Data analytical tool is not for the sake of confirming the mathematical accuracy. It's a petty issue, mathematical accuracy. And you are utilizing data analytical tool for that. You are not justifying the use of data analytical tool. Maybe Mary needs training. Maybe the audit firm needs to provide training to the staff in order to understand what is the potential of data analytical tool. So another mark, recommend an action. They need to provide training to their staff. Following this work, Mary concluded that the contracts which she had reviewed support the going concern status of the company. Once the conclusion was drawn by the Mary, that should have been reviewed by someone senior. Having reviewed these major contracts, Mary completed the conclusion on going concern, stating that there is no significant uncertainty over going concern, which should not have been the case. Somebody senior should have concluded it. At least someone should have reviewed. Someone needs to review the work of the Mary. Well, not someone has to review, someone should have reviewed. Hussain, someone should have reviewed. Mary commented that due to the effectiveness of the data analytical tools, she only had to record 8 hours in relation to the work she had performed on going concern. Yeah, clearly not good enough time on such a sensitive topic, going concern. Now, please read this very carefully. This question focuses on post-issuance quality review. Now, if it is a post-issuance quality review question, this falls into the syllabus area of quality management and practice management rather than the review of the work during the audit. So, typical issues to look out for in such a question are whether the work has been assigned to the appropriate level of staff. No, Mary is not the appropriate staff. Whether sufficient time has been allocated. No, Bob did only invested 2 hours. Whether sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained. Not really, because they are deviating from the audit plan. They are not utilizing the data analytical tools. They are only relying on the previous year's assumptions. So they are not confident about the going concern assumption. Whether any ethical threats are apparent. Yes, there are ethical threats apparent because there was a unknown, undefined, special investigation. I don't know what kind of transaction was that for a heavy $890,000. So yeah, there is a threat to objectivity. Okay, what about the marks allocation? First mark could be scored by stating this paragraph. It's a typical paragraph which could be used in any question whatsoever. A review of the information relating to the audit of river company indicates many problems. We have already reviewed it. And we have realized that the audit was not planned and performed in accordance with ISA 220 quality management for an audit of financial statements, ISQM quality management for firms that perform audit. So this is a standard on individual client. This is a standard on the overall audit firm. And we have also made compromises on the IESBA, International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants. So there are compromises on three different things: ISA 220, ISQM1, and IESBA Code of Ethics. So there are many compromises. This is an introductory paragraph, and this will score 1 mark. Am I clear? Am I clear? Can I move on? Okay, yes. Now, I don't need dozens of headings. The first heading is about audit partner. The second heading is about supervision and review. The third heading is special investigation, and the fourth has to be in relation to going concern, audit of going concern. Okay. Let's break it down. Let's break it down. Okay. Audit partner has been acting as an engagement partner for 8 years. Considering it's a listed company, this goes against the requirement of code and the ethical standards, which requires that an individual shall not act as an engagement partner for more than 7 years. So this will give you 1 mark. You have highlighted that that individual is being there for 8 years, which is not allowed because 7 years is the threshold. This is not in line with FRC. You have scored another 1 mark. Now, why it is so bad? Is it bad? I have exceeded more than 7 years. Is it good or bad? It's bad. But why it is bad? It is bad because this could create self-interest threat. It is bad because it could create familiarity threat. It is bad because the audit firm was sleeping. Another 1 mark. The problem is that long association of the engagement partner with the client leads to self-interest threat. Majority of the worldwide student would say the long association will create self-interest threat and it will compromise the objectivity. The marker will not give you marks for that. You have to explain because of the self-interest threat or whereby the audit firm's judgment is affected by concern over losing the long-standing client. What's the self-interest here? Or why are you so bothered about self-interest? Why? Because of the long association, I will be reluctant. My judgment would be compromised. I will be reluctant in raising the concerns because I don't want to offend the client. I don't want to jeopardize or compromise my long-standing relationship with the client. As an individual, I will make compromises. Self-interest. Now, another possible mark could be scored out of the familiarity issue. There may also be so you are adding more to it. There may also be a familiarity threat due to close relationship between the audit engagement partner and the management of reverse company, meaning that the partner ceases to exercise sufficient professional skepticism, which could impact on audit quality. That's it. You could score another 1 mark. An ideal answer would say, moreover, Bob is also, providing non-audit services, which also indicates familiarity threat. That would be an ideal answer. This would lead to a familiarity threat due to close relationship between the audit engagement partner and the management of reverse company. That will not score 1 mark, meaning that whereby that you have to explain what is the implication. The partner will cease to apply sufficient appropriate skepticism, sufficient professional skepticism, and that will impact the audit quality. Another 1 mark could be scored the fact that Bob has been allowed to continue as an audit partner for longer period than allowed by the court indicates that the audit firm does not have past tense. Audit firm does not have appropriate policies and procedures designed to provide it with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with relevant ethical requirements. The firm should have reviewed whether the firm should review whether its monitoring of the length of time that the audit engagement partner acts for a client is operating effectively or not. Why the firm didn't realize once the 7 years were gone by. Okay, what about supervision? So have you realized how 4 to 5 marks could be scored out of it? Okay, what about supervision and review? Bob has booked only 2 hours. This is not the sufficient time to execute their duties adequately. The audit partner is responsible for the overall supervision and performance of the audit. He should have spent more time. So 1 mark. Second issue, most of the audit work, most of the review was performed by the newly promoted audit manager. And that newly promoted manager would not have the necessary experience. So it is possible that sufficient appropriate audit evidence have not been obtained. Another 1 mark by criticizing the fact that all the review was performed by the audit manager. Try to memorize the names of the standards. Yes. There is also a related issue regarding the delegation of work. Why all the review was assigned to the audit manager who has recently been recruited? What the hell the senior audit manager, Pat, is doing? Pat has only recorded 6 hours. Why significant audit risk areas such as going concern was not handed over to Pat? So another 1 mark by criticizing the fact that Pat is underworked. Last possible mark, a total of 173 hours does not justify the amount of time that should have been allocated to the company, which is a listed company, which is having going concern as their significant audit risk. So another 1 mark. Special investigation, Bob has booked 40 hours. There is insufficient documentation in relation to this non-audit work. This could be because of the fact that this is a ghost work, no work was performed at all. Or maybe this is a case of bribe. This should be investigated as an urgent matter. This would be a very serious issue and could be perceived as a bribe and should be investigated with urgency. Moreover, why there is an inadequate documentation, we need to investigate and we need to inquire from the partner why there was no documentation at all. Because this non-audit service could lead to self-interest threat. This non-audit service could lead to self-review threat. A self-interest threat is created as the value of the service provided is substantial compared to the audit fee. The fact that non-audit fee are so high would create a proportionally bigger intimidation threat. That would create self-interest threat because of the fee dependency. The client could create an undue pressure, which is called an intimidation threat. Once the audit was complete, there is no indication in the question that a quality review, a hot review did not take place. Please read this one. As this is a listed audit client, an engagement quality review should have been performed. It is not clear whether this took place or not. But no time has been recorded for this review. If a pre-issuance review was carried out at that point of time, maybe the problems would have been avoided. Maybe the audit opinion could have been changed. Maybe we could have issued, maybe this audit opinion is not appropriate. Only the time will tell us. So considering there is no indication in the question, I will say that the engagement quality review should have been performed. Another 1 mark. Audit of going concern was delegated to audit assistant. She might not have necessary skills or experience. Considering this was a significant audit risk, this should have been, allocated to someone more senior member with more prior experience. This area should have been executed with more professional skepticism. Mary certainly should not have documented the conclusion. The conclusion should have been drawn by someone more experienced auditor. Only 5 contracts were selected out of the 20. That's not sufficient. And even those 5 contracts were selected by the management, which is clear, which should not be the case. Definitely, management would be biased. They would come up with false impression. The audit committee did not realize any of the issue. The audit committee did not realize Bob has been there for 8 years. So overall, the conclusion is, from the discussion above, it can be seen that there are many problems with the audit of river company. Bob appears to have ignored the responsibilities as a partner. The audit firm needs to discuss this issue with him. We need to, maybe we need to come up with disciplinary action. The audit firm needs to implement procedures in order to ensure that the overall team understands. We need more experienced staff. We need to provide them training, such as the audit manager needs training. And we need to make sure we need to provide training in the context of data analytics tools, because clearly they don't know how to apply the data analytical tools. Now there are many options of scoring marks. Long association, 7 years, 1 mark. Self-interest thread, if you could explain it, 1 mark. Familiarity thread, if you could explain it, 1 mark. Remove Bob and appoint new partner, 1 mark. Why firm didn't realize what their, why they were not monitoring it, 1 mark. Audit partner should invest more time rather than just 2 hours. The total hours are not good enough. So there are many options of scoring marks. As a student, you have to produce this answer all over again. Now, I will have another class maybe on Saturday or maybe on Monday, but I will only execute this class once I'm dead sure that all of you have invested 5 hours on this question. And you have to type this question on the practice platform and you have to share your answer with me with the help of solution. Once you are done with that, we will have the part 2 of this topic, quality management. We will have another class, and within that class, we will explore a fresh, brand new question which is not available in your portal. And that question would belong to a hot review. Today's class was all about cold review. No, I don't want a word file. You got to use the practice platform. No word file. No, don't use Microsoft Word. Dear students, if I want to, I can continue this class for another 1 hour. But I think instead of having 2.5 hour class, let's break it down. Let's have another live class after 2-3 days, maybe on Saturday or maybe tomorrow after 2 p.m. or maybe on Monday. Let's call it on Monday. What if we have a class tomorrow at 3 p.m.? Tomorrow, 3 p.m. And the agenda of the class would be hot review. This class was about cold review. Yeah, that seems all right. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. But the problem is the majority of the students would miss the recording of this. The recording would be available after 24 hours. Okay, Mondays. Okay, let's make it Monday. We will have a class on Monday. I will share the time because it's going to be an exceptional class. I will communicate with the support team of the VP. The class is going to be on Monday. This class has had one agenda, cold review. That class will have one agenda, hot review. I will only allow you to attend the class provided you have shared your 4 to 5 hour effort with me on my WhatsApp. I want you to prepare this question, read it twice, read the question twice, read the solution thrice, produce your own answer with the help of solution on the practice platform and share it with me. The deadline is Saturday night. So I'll see you on Monday with a hot review. Thank you very much, guys. If you have got any concern, please raise it now. Yes, guys. Saturday could be an option. Yeah, you're right. Saturday could be an option because the recording would be available till Friday. So those who are going to watch it as a recorded session, they can jump into the Saturday session. But okay, let's make it Monday. Monday. Okay, in the next class, I will discuss the 𝐶𝐲 part A as well. Hussain, can we delay it till Monday, 𝐶𝐲 part A? You just need to have discussion on 4 to 5 mistakes, 4 to 5 things in order to score those 7 marks, by the way. Anyways, your homework is to prepare this question called well fought. You have to share your answer with me on the WhatsApp. Your answer should be on the practice platform. And then we will have a question, we'll have a class on Monday, and that class would be about a hot review. This class was about cold review. Is this clear to everyone? Okay, guys, thank you very much. I'll see you soon. I will keep you posted on the WhatsApp group. Please do not underestimate the importance of the WhatsApp group. Do listen to my voice notes. Try to acknowledge them. Try to follow them. I sent all those voice notes with all my heart. Thank you very much. Stay blessed, and I'll see you soon. Which question to prepare for cold review? Well, for the sake of cold review, this is the question called Welford. And if you want me to recommend another question, James. Welford and James. On Monday, we are going to have discussion on a question called Bradley. James, Welford, Bradley. I'll see you on Monday.